Season 2, Episode 79. This is A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf, and I give my commentary on national and world news and politics. Have I got news for you? It's going to be a recap Friday. I'm going to recap some of the news stories so we can get an overview of where we stand, and I'll give my thoughts on it. Okay, here we go. Waiting for Putin. Trump spoke separately with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky, hoping to get them on the same page for a ceasefire. Now, Trump said he got a 30-day ceasefire on infrastructure agreed to, but soon after, there were more bombings, including from Russia on Ukrainian hospitals. The two sides are still incredibly far apart. Russia, for example, wants no more rearming of the Ukrainian military, in addition to seizing 4 territories it doesn't have complete control over currently. The Ukrainian view, as well as many in Europe, is that Putin is stalling and likes the idea of being seen again as one of the big dogs on the international stage with a direct relationship with the United States. So is Trump being played, or will something tangible emerge? One thing is for certain, Trump's approach has broken with decades of bipartisan foreign policy, and he's upset many U.S. allies who believe there will be consequences, and Trump is unwittingly empowering China. Why Donald Trump thinks Putin will agree to anything that's fair on ending the Ukraine war that Putin started is beyond me. I truly believe that Donald Trump is being played by Putin. And Putin's playbook is to be more aggressive in his capturing of more territory, and Donald is kidding himself if he thinks Putin is going to agree to anything that doesn't benefit him and Russia. In what science fiction world, Donald, do you believe there's going to be an equitable outcome? More foreign policy challenges. The Russia-Ukraine war isn't the only high-stakes international challenge facing Trump. This week he announced bombings of Houthis in Yemen for their attacks on commercial vessels. He also warned Iran not to help the Yemeni group, said the U.S. would completely annihilate the Houthis. And that ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that the then incoming Trump administration was so keen on taking credit for evaporated this week. Israel bombed Gaza in what was one of the deadliest single days since the war began. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed on Fox News Monday night that Israel consulted the White House before the strikes. It raises the question of Trump's influence on the war. What does he really want? Does he want it to end with peace between the two sides, or does he simply want Gazans to leave or be wiped out, as he's called for Gazans to be relocated and for a Riviera created? I personally don't think in either case Donald the Delusional King has a lot of pull or power in either of these scenarios. And just who is Donald getting his advice from? He certainly can't think rationally for himself. He's never proven that he could. And he just waves military threats of power around as if saying, "Look how big my balls are, and I'm the toughest man in the world." No, Donald, you're not. However, you're the most dangerous man in the world because of your mood swings, your silly whims, and your lunatic ideas. Trump continues to indicate he wants to go after political enemies. For all of the Trump administration's now confirmed agency heads who said during their confirmation hearings that they would take the political weaponization out of government, there have certainly been a lot of moves that call those pledges into question. Consider that just this week, the Trump administration kicked out the South African ambassador for saying something perceived to be anti-Trump. Trump then stripped the Biden children of Secret Service protection, even though Biden kept it for Trump's children, with part of the justification being that Hunter Biden had traveled to South Africa, a country whose government the Trump administration's South African-born advisor Elon Musk have accused of racism toward whites. Trump said Biden's pardons are void because Trump says Biden used an auto pen, even though there's no rule or law against that. and in the same post took aim at January 6 committee members. And his administration suggested anger at Maine's governor for a terse exchange was influencing contract cancellations. So it's basically Donald being petty and vindictive. What a big frigging surprise. He'll continue to go after anyone he perceives is against him, which in his delusional state of mind is everyone, everywhere. And as far as the auto pen thing from Joe Biden signing pardons, that is such a false narrative because it doesn't matter if a president uses an auto pen. It doesn't make pardons invalid. But Donald will throw it out there to fire up his base and anyone who listens to say, look how illegal Joe Biden was with his pardons. The intelligent people in our country, which I hope includes all of my listeners, know better. Good try, Donald. We see through you. Running into the courts. Trump is testing the limits of the presidency, doing as much as possible without Congress. To this point, that meant tackling a lot, like restructuring the federal government, laying off thousands of workers, dismantling agencies, and taking over boards of once semi-independent outfits. But while Republicans, who control both houses of Congress, are eager to give Trump the reins, there is another equal branch, the judiciary. This week saw the courts become speed bumps once again in what Trump is trying to do, from his immigration deportations, his ban on transgender military service members, or his attempted termination of climate-related grants through the Environmental Protection Agency. The Trump administration is pushing back, and the president himself called for the impeachment of a judge in one of the cases. That didn't sit well with Chief Justice John Roberts, who said impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreements concerning a judicial decision. An NPR PBS News Marist poll from early this month found that 58% weren't confident that Trump would follow court orders if they block his executive actions. And he will undoubtedly test just how far the courts will let him go, with cases that presumably will end up at the U.S. Supreme Court. This goes back again to Donald defying anyone who stands in his way, including the judiciary, and the absurdity of calling judges who are against him for their impeachment. Seriously, Donald? It's not the fact that you have policy decisions to make, and that's what's pissing everyone off. First, it's pissing off everyone because your policy decisions are extreme points of views. Banning transgenders in the military? Extreme point of view. Laying off thousands of workers for no rhyme or reason? Extreme point of view. Going after climate change, attacking these agencies, dismantling them, and other agencies as well? Extreme point of view. Don't get me started on the DEI thing that Donald has up his ass, where anyone and any law and any agency who does DEI policies or hiring based on that, there's something evil about them, according to Donald. Extreme point of view. It's none of that. That's bad enough as it is. The biggest issue is that he's doing this on his own, basically, without going through the proper form of channels and government, i.e., the Congress. That's what's pissing people off first and foremost. So yes, thankfully, hopefully more of the courts are standing up against you, Donald, and stopping your extremism and your dictator ways on how to run government in your eyes. We all need to hope and pray that more courts will come out against Donald and that the outcome will be positive to stop him. But Donald will still appeal constantly, and most, if not all, of these court cases will be pushed all the way up to the Supreme Court. We can all speculate on how that's going to go, can't we? What to fight for. Democrats are not uniformed on how to oppose Trump, as evidenced by state Democratic leader Chuck Schumer's unwillingness to let the government shut down last week. The courts are the avenue many on the left see as the best way to thwart Trump's agenda. But the right believes they have public opinion on their side on many of the issues landing in court. As they see it, why would Democrats be against deporting people the administration says are gang members, someone who they say was promoting Hamas position on a college campus, or a doctor who allegedly had photos of a Hezbollah leader on her phone? Those on the left would argue it's not about what people are accused of. It's about adhering to court orders regardless of what someone is accused of. An idea that is as old as the Republic and John Adams defending British soldiers. I believe a lot of us, if not the majority of us, are pissed off against Democratic leadership and how they are standing up to Donald, because we feel they're being too, what's the word I want to use? Let me think about this. Give me a minute, please. I got it. Pussies. Most of the Democratic leaders' responses to Donald so far in his actions are tepid. Basically, the Democratic leadership are acting like pussies. We need more. We want more. We want concrete plans, action steps on how to take on and slow down or stop what Donald the King is doing before there's no America left to defend. Here's a news story you may not have heard, just to be aware for your information. Musk had a meeting today. Elon Musk's Pentagon visit sparks more questions about his access to sensitive files. Now, Elon Musk visited the Pentagon on Friday, but questions about why ignited a fresh storm of controversy surrounding his access to sensitive government information. The New York Times, citing unnamed officials, reported that Musk would receive a briefing on U.S. plans for any potential conflict with China, which involves some of the military's most closely guarded secrets. The top secret briefing that exists for the China war plan has about 20 to 30 slides that lay out how the United States would fight such a conflict, the Times reported. It covers the plan beginning with the indications and warning of a threat from China to various options of what Chinese targets to hit over what time period that would be presented to Mr. Trump for decisions according to officials with knowledge of the plan. However, President Trump and members of administration immediately pushed back on social media. How ridiculous. China will not even be mentioned or discussed, Trump wrote. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Thursday night on X, "We look forward to welcoming Elon Musk to the Pentagon tomorrow." But the fake news again delivers this story. This is not a meeting about top secret China war plans. It's an informal meeting about innovation, efficiencies, and smarter production. Gonna be great. Musk also weighed in on X, the platform he owns, saying the New York Times is pure propaganda. "I look forward to the prosecutions of those at the Pentagon who are leaking maliciously false information to the New York Times. They will be found," Musk said. The Pentagon briefing was set to take place in a secure meeting place normally used by the Joint Chiefs, known formally as the Tank. Now, this is according to a U.S. official who spoke to NPR on condition of anonymity. The official also said that Admiral Samuel Paparo, head of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, which includes China, was expected to take part virtually from Sri Lanka. Now, Pentagon officials said the briefing would focus on China, but would only contain unclassified information. But in the end, none of that appears to have happened. A Pentagon official who is not authorized to speak publicly said that Musk did not go to the Tank, but instead met with Hegseth in his office. It's unclear if the apparent change of plans was in reaction to the news coverage about Musk and the purpose of the visit. Appearing at the Oval Office in front of reporters later in the day, both Trump and Hegseth repeated their condemnations about the news reports, with Hegseth saying the stories were meant to sort of undermine whatever relationship the Pentagon has with Elon Musk. Okay, Wolfpack listeners, let's say for argument's sake, this talk about Musk getting information about China and so-called war plans and whatever, let's just say that's all bullshit. Just bear with me for a moment. It really doesn't matter whether it's true or not true that they talked about China to Elon Musk in this meeting. The bigger issue is, what the hell is Musk doing in meetings with the Pentagon, or any meetings with anyone of importance about anything, since he's not an elected official in our government. Republican leadership, wake the hell up. Some of your own constituents are pissed off about Elon Musk being involved in so many areas of the American way of life. He should not be involved in anything. He's a billionaire. He's not elected to anything. He's superseding the authority of Congress. Get him the hell out of the White House. Get him the hell out of Washington, D.C. Get him the hell out of our country. And finally, Trump administration cuts nationwide tree planting effort. Why? The Trump administration's efforts to end federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, DEI, has hit an unexpected target. In February, communities around the country learned that funding was canceled for a nationwide tree planting program aimed at making neighborhoods cooler, healthier, and more resilient to climate change. The urban forestry initiative administered by the nonprofit Arbor Day Foundation was supposed to distribute $75 million in grant funding to about 100 different cities, nonprofit organizations, and tribes to plant shade trees in neighborhoods that need them the most. The program was funded by the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act, which included big investments in climate initiatives. In a letter terminating the contract, the U.S. Forest Service stated the program no longer aligns with agency priorities regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, which houses the Forest Service, said in an emailed statement that the agency was complying with President Trump's executive orders. The Arbor Day Foundation was surprised by the sudden cancellation, said Executive Director Dan Lamb. This was hugely disappointing, Lamb said. It was an exciting opportunity for us to work with organizations and communities all across the country to plant trees in communities, to create jobs, to create economic benefits, to create conservation benefits, to help create cooler, safer, and healthier communities. Gee, just trying to do some good stuff, right? Okay, well, on his first day in office, President Trump signed an executive order aimed at ending federal programs and grants related to DEI, which it called discriminatory and wasteful. The order required agencies to provide a list of all DEI programs, including programs related to environmental justice, and it ordered agencies to terminate equity actions, initiatives, or programs and equity-related grants or contracts. A tree planting effort? DEI? Seriously, Donald? Do any of my listeners at this point, or anyone else who reads about this story, have any questions at all about how nut fuck crazy Donald is? Environment, nature, tree planting, DEI. Donald, you really need to get a hug. I'm not going to do it, but you need to get a hug from somewhere because you clearly are a soulless, insecure, angry old man who doesn't give a shit about anything. And we find out now you don't even care about trees. Freaking trees. Think about this. This just boggles the mind. You know, tomorrow Natasha and I are going to go visit the farm that's near us that I talked about last episode to get out in nature around trees to clear our mind from this poison that sits in the Oval Office in Washington, D.C. If you care to comment about anything in this episode, or even just to say hello, would be nice to hear from some of you. wolfpacklistener@gmail.com, 833-399-9653, the toll-free voicemail box, or leave me a comment on Blue Sky. And please check out my Substack that I just started again. You can find it on Substack under Jeff Allen Wolf, The Wolf's Den. Or you can contact me. I'll send you a direct link to make it easier for you. I'll be back again Monday. This is A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. And without your comments, feedback, and engagement, I'm sitting in a room talking to myself. Stay hopeful.